So in this lesson, we are going to look at stem and leaf plots. So stem and leaf plots are another way to visually display data. We can find the mean, median, mode, and range using a stem and leaf plot. And so we're going to go ahead and construct them and analyze them all in the same lesson. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, what is a stem and leaf plot and what does it look like? So a stem and leaf plot is a table where each number is split into what's called a stem, which is the first digit or sometimes the first digits, and then a leaf, which is the last digit or the last digits. So this is what a stem and leaf plot would look like here. So on the left, we have what's called the stems, and in this case, it's the first digit. And then on the right, we have the leaf, which in this case is also the last digit. So for example, this first number here is simply the number 5. The number in front would be 0, and the number behind it would be 5, and that would just translate to 5. If you go down to the third line here, this whole entire third line only represents 3 numbers. What you do is the stem tells you what the first number is going to be for each leaf. So this is actually 28, 23, and 26. If you look down here, what you do is the stem tells you the stem tells you the first number for each leaf, and that's going to be 55 and 54. Okay? Now, the only thing about this particular stem and leaf plot is that these really should be in numerical order from least to greatest. So this should say 23, 26, and 28, but we'll practice that together. So how do you actually make a stem and leaf plot? The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your numbers, your data set, and you're going to order them from least to greatest. So let's go ahead and do that with this data set here. Okay, so you should have 42, 67, 73, 78, 82, 84, 86, 91, 94, and 99. Okay? The second thing you're going to do is you're going to group the numbers into different stems using the first digit or the first digits. So these are all just double-digit numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to split them into stems and leaves. So in this case, we're going to just separate them in half, okay? So I'm going to use 4 as a stem and 2 as a leaf. I'm going to use 6 as a stem and 7 as a leaf, okay? And so just in your mind, number 2 is mostly done in your mind. You want to start to formulate what your plan is going to be. So number 3 is you're going to want to draw your stem and leaf plot. And the way that you do that is you draw a T-chart. You write stem on the left and leaf on the right. You don't make a fancy title, it's just called stem and leaf. And then for number 4, we're going to write our stems on the left side of the plot. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight what our stems are. So we have 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. We do not repeat our stems. However, something that we do is we cannot skip numbers. So here how we have 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, we cannot skip 5. So we are going to go ahead and put 5 on our plot. So we're going to write 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me squeeze that in there a little bit better. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now, step 5, we're going to write the leaf on the right-hand side of the plot. So our leaves what we're going to do is we are going to separate our leaves by commas. So we're going to start with our 4. We only have 1, 2 to correspond with our 4. So we have the number 42. So I'm just going to write 2 right here for that one. Now for our number 5, we didn't have anything with our 50s. So we're just going to leave it blank. For our 6, we only had a 67. So I'm just going to write 7. For our 7, we had a 3 and an 8. So the way that I'll write that is 3, 8. For our 8s, we had 2, 4, and 6. So I'm going to write 2, 4, 6. And for our 9s, we had 1, 4, and 9. So 1, 4, 9. And you've now constructed your stem and leaf plot. So let's go ahead and do a first example. So people from around the country were weighed after the holidays. So we're going to complete a stem and leaf plot with the list of the following weights. Let's try that again. Okay. Now, the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and order these numbers. And then always go back and double check to make sure you have the same number. So you should have 19 total numbers. Okay? Now we have our stem and leaf plot drawn for us. So now we need to determine how we're going to separate into stems and leaves. So do we want to separate by a stem of 1 number or 2 numbers? So you could say that we could separate the stems with 2 numbers. So we could put here 10, 11, 12, 13, and then just make all of our leaves 0. But that's not really going to be helpful. That's not going to help us compact our data. So what we should do is we should make a stem of 1 and then a stem of 2. So we're going to do a stem of 1 and then space down quite a bit and make a stem of 2. Now, after that, we're going to go ahead and start to organize our data. So after the stem of 1, we're going to have double 0, and that's going to represent 100. Then we're going to have 10, which is going to represent 110. Then we're going to have 20, which will represent 120, 30, which will represent 130, another 30, then 50, remember they're all separated by commas, 60, we have 2 70s, and then a 90. We're going to move down to our 2s, so we're going to start with a 10, a 30, 40, 60, 2 70s, 80, 90, and then another 90. And we have a stem and leaf plot. All right, let's go ahead and do example 2. Subjects in a psychological study were timed while completing a certain task. Complete a stem and leaf plot for the following list of times. So here we have some decimals, and that's not a problem. We're going to go ahead and do it the same way. The first thing we need to do, though, is go ahead and order them. Make sure you count them up to make sure you have the same number of data values. You should have 14. Now let's determine our stem and our leaves. So same process. What's going to be our stem? What's going to be our leaf? So here we're going to use 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 as our stem. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll just extend that guy a little bit. Now, when we go to draw our leaves, because these are decimals, we're going to make sure that we write it as 0.8, comma, 0.9. So we did those. Now we're going to move down to the sixes. 0.1, 0.2, 0.8. Move down to the sevens. 0.3, 0.4, 0.6, 0.7, 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.8, and then 0.2. And that's about it. All right, next example. Subjects in another psychological study were timed while completing a certain task. Complete the semin leaf plot for the following list of times. So let's go ahead and order these. And then, as always, make sure you have the same number of data values. You should have 11. So this is a good example of a time where we can use 2 digits in the stem. So we can use 23, 24, 25, and 26 and 27 as a stem. So 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27 as a stem. Now, when we do our leaf, make sure that you account for the decimal right there. Okay, so 0.25, 0.13, 0.76, comma, 0.81, comma, 0.98, 0.31, 0.57, 0.89, 0.28, 0.34, 0.09. And mine should have been in a more straight line here. Let me fix my 24s so they look a little bit better. Let's do 0.13, 0.76, 0.81, 0.98. There you go. Okay, example 4. So this time we have the stem and leaf plot already created for us, and we need to go ahead and determine the mean, median, mode, and range. First off, I say let's start with the easier ones. So what is the range? Well, the range, that's going to be our largest number subtracted by our smallest number. So what is our largest number? We'll go down to the bottom of the stem and leaf chart, find your largest stem, and then find your largest leaf. So that's going to be 68 minus, now go up to the top, smallest stem, smallest leaf, minus 20. So 68 minus 20 is going to give you 48. Now go ahead and find your mode. Your mode is going to be your number that appears most frequently. Go to your leaves and look for your leaf that appears most frequently. You have 2 of them. So you have a 2, 2, and 2, and you have a 7, 7, 7. So those both correspond with the stem of 3. So your mode is 32 and 37. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and find the median. So for the median, let me go ahead and write that up here. So for the median, I want us to go ahead and list out the numbers from the stem and leaf chart. So 20, 24, and I'm literally just listing them out from here. 25, 25, 26, 28, 32, 32, 32, 36, 36, 37, 37, 37, 49, 53, 54, 55, 57, 61, 62, 64, 66, and 68. Now, they're already in order for us because we took them straight from the stem and leaf chart, which is pretty great. Now just find your median. So your median is going to be 37. Now go ahead and find your mean. So you're going to add up all those values and divide by the total number. So when I added them all up, I got 1,016. And there's one, you can count the leaves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 values. So you're going to get a long decimal, just round to the nearest hundredth. and that'll give you 42.33. And there you go. All right, example 5. This will be the last one. So again, we have a stem and leaf chart. This is a push-up competition. So let's go ahead and find the mean, median, mode, and range. Start with the range. So we're going to go down to the largest stem, 7, and the largest leaf, 9. So 79 minus smallest stem, which is 0, smallest leaf, which is 2. So 79 minus 2. So our range is 77. Our mode is the number that appears most frequently. So is there a leaf that appears most frequently in a single stem? No, there's not one that doubles, so there is no mode. Now let's go ahead and find our median. So to do that, we're going to list out all the numbers. And then we're going to go ahead and find the median. So my median is between 46 and 47, so it's going to be 46.5. And then I need to add up all my numbers and find my mean. So when I added them all up, I got 1,002. And then you can count your leaves for your total number of terms. I got 24. And that gave me 41.75. Alright, that is the end of the stem and leaf lesson. We will do some more practice in class.